guys, it's Chloe and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my spina bifida neurogenic bladder journey and what I'm doing to help that. And I got inspired to do it because I went on my bladder medications website and it just showed a bunch of old people using the medication. Also on Facebook, my urologist up in Hershey call it the poop group, but there's a group out there for individuals with spina bifida or parents of individuals with spina bifida that have neurogenic bowel and bladder. And on the group, a lot of people say, hey, my individual is going to be starting X medication or Y medication. Has anyone been on this medicine? Can you give me any details? Does insurance cover it? Blah, 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 blah. And I got to thinking, okay, this is a quote unquote pressing topic that I feel like needs to be addressed. So I'm just going to talk about it. And if you see me looking at this big binder, don't feel like I don't care or I'm not paying attention. I am. This is just all my childhood medical records, so in case if I need to quickly reference something. But I did do extensive research on both my childhood and adulthood records before doing this. But again, just in case if I choke up or need something, I've got it here. But I'm excited to do this video, and on that note, we're going to get started. So basically, for those of y'all that haven't listened to the beginning of the video where I've talked about it thousands of times, pretty much, but I have spina bifida. I was born with it, occult tethered cord. I was diagnosed with it at 2.5 because that's when it was caught, and I ended up getting emergency surgery 2 weeks later. And beforehand though, I was getting a lot of UTIs and I was on medication for them, but with one of the medicines I broke out in hives and they found out I was allergic to sulfa drugs. And back then, I don't know if it's still true now, but sulfa drugs are like the gold standard to treat any type of UTI. I got my surgery and I ended up getting UTIs afterwards too, and I met with a urologist, and back then there wasn't like a big children's hospital in my state dedicated to working with kids. This was like in 1998. There was a really small children's hospital, and then there was Emory Children's Hospital. And then a couple months after my surgery, they merged together to create what we now know today as Children's Healthcare of Atlanta for all my Georgians. And with the urologist that I met with, he basically said that I had some elements of neurogenic bladder dysfunction, because I got done at urodynamics, but it was more along the lines of I couldn't relax my bladder, and all he did was give me a medication for a UTI, and that was all that was really done. And I am able to push to urinate, and I was able to poop on my own, and I did have like a lot of UTIs and bouts of constipation a lot. But my parents didn't really know what to do except just go to my pediatrician, and the pediatrician kept on giving me medication for it. And then my 5th grade year, it could have started earlier, but this is when I remember it happening. My bladder just started leaking. My parents didn't know what to do. My mom took me to her OBGYN for that and something else. And they just gave me yeast infection pills thinking it was that, and that didn't work. And then finally, after high school, I started seeing some urologists in my state, but the one wasn't very knowledgeable about spina bifida, and the other two were semi-knowledgeable. And they gave me like Miralax to try, but the one doctor who wasn't as knowledgeable about spina bifida couldn't get the dose right, and I got frustrated and gave up. And the last urologist I saw in my state wanted to give me Metamucil, and that didn't really help. And the urologist I see now out of state, when I started going in 2021, I saw his assistant, and she was phenomenal. And I told her what I'd been doing. I had been wearing bladder pads, and I had been wearing just like bladder pads, and I was getting done pelvic floor therapy because my previous urologist recommended that. And she told me to stop the pelvic floor therapy because I told her it wasn't helping. And she said, which I don't really agree with this, but it's only for pregnant people, which again, I don't agree with, but for somebody with spina bifida, it doesn't really work for us because our nerves are damaged. So she said to try Miralax again, and she gave me the right dose and it's working, but she said she couldn't really do anything else urologically yet until I got done an ultrasound on my kidneys and bladder and a urodynamics. So she also said with the urodynamics that the urologist, which is her assistant, he would be the one doing it because he does them for the whole spina bifida clinic, which is awesome. I made those appointments and went back up a month later, and I spoke to him about it, and I told him what I'd been doing, and at this point I transitioned to pull-ups because with the pads, I put them in my underwear, but they would shift, and then I'd leak into the underwear, and therefore leak into my clothes, and it's very hard to get urine stains out of clothes and underwear, and smells, urine smells as well. So I decided to go with pull-ups, and I told him that I was on Miralax, his assistant telling me to do so. After he did the study, he said that I had neurogenic bladder, more specifically overactive bladder, where my bladder muscles can't relax. I have spasms and I have urges. He asked me what I've been doing for it, and I said that the urologist wanted me on Miralax to kind of help with my bowels, because sometimes what happens is when you're constipated, your bowels take up more space in your bladder and they push on your bladder, causing you to leak. When you're able to empty your bowels completely, it'll provide more space for your bladder and you won't leak as much or at all. And it kind of helped, but I was still leaking. And I had transitioned into pull-ups because with the pads, they would shift in my underwear and I'd leak into my underwear and into my clothes, and it's really hard to get like urine smells and stains out of clothes and underwear. And I was always having to buy like new pairs of underwear, so it just frustrated me, and I went into pull-ups. And he asked me if I had been on any bladder medications. I said no, and he wanted me to try Myrbetriq. He did not want me to try like Vesicare, I think it's called, Ditropan, as well as the other bladder medications that I can't think of the name right now, because they all have a side effect of constipation, and that's what my neurogenic bowels are, is constipation. He wanted me to try Myrbetriq because it didn't have that side effect. He did forewarn me though. He said the only thing is that Myrbetriq is expensive and doesn't have a generic yet. And because of that, health insurance will either A, make you try every other medication out there and then use Myrbetriq as a last resort, or B, they'll require the doctor to write a medical letter of necessity and then they'll consider covering it. He asked me what health insurance I had and gave me a coupon code for my Myrbetriq that I could use. I had to get the medicine filled in Hershey, so I can't remember how much it cost because I'm not from Pennsylvania, I'm from Georgia. But my health insurance actually covered it the first time, no problems. So I was like, oh, so no medical letter of necessity and no making me try other medications before getting to that one. So that was really good. When I got it filled, it was only $60 with the coupon code. However, if I hadn't used the coupon code, it would have been $200 at the pharmacy that I go to, which is the one that like my insurance recommends and gives like the cheapest prices for. The only thing I will add, because it's one of those things that I wish the urologist told me about, but I'm not angry because I've been getting phenomenal care up there compared to what I get in Georgia. But with the coupon code, you have to renew it every year, and it's not every calendar year that you have to do it. So let's say I got my coupon code July 14th of 2021. So in July 14th of 2022, I had to renew it. Then I have to renew it this year, but I'm not all out of my medication yet because my health insurance gives me a 90-day supply of it instead of a 30-day. So therefore, it lasts a lot longer. I went up last year and I asked if my pull-ups could be covered by health insurance, and the urologist up there said in some cases it can. What she did was she contacted a medical supply company in my area and sent the prescription to them, and then they gave me a call like a couple days later, and they told me that because I'm not on Medicaid or Medicare, they wouldn't cover them. And I did some research and found out that they'll only cover it if you have Medicaid. So it's like, what's the point of having health insurance? I mean, really. I'm in the process of trying to get Medicaid right now, so hopefully they'll cover it. And I went on the poop group, and a lot of people have said that. They also said in some states they only cover pull-ups if you're over the age of 4 or 5, because people younger than 4 or 5 are still in diapers or pull-ups, regardless if they have like neurogenic bladder or spina bifida or not. That's basically it. I have to go up every year because I have to get done an ultrasound on my kidneys and bladder every year. And then the urodynamics, I have to get done if we feel like my cord is tethered again. I'm not going up this year though, because the soonest that they could get me in was in March of next year. So I can't go. That's basically it. I thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Bye.